that you're using right now to learn about and to get like fresh eyeballs on CyberHoot and have people learn about this?
Well, it's interesting, as an entrepreneur, I was originally the development side of the house. So I'm a very technical person, and Evolve Computing, being my software development company, tends to partner with different people with their ideas. And the concept behind it is they sell it, we build it, right? But what we found is we want to get more momentum, and we want to kind of change the culture a bit, make it a little bit more fun, entertaining, but also take too much of the seriousness out of it as well. Like, we build it, right? But what we found is we want to get more momentum, and we want to kind of change the culture a bit, make it a little bit more fun, entertaining, but also take too much of the seriousness out of it as well. Like, it's too rigid, too professional, I don't want it that way. I want it to be a little looser, but educational. So what I end up doing.
So for CyberHoot, do you still are you reaching out to talk to other MSPs? Is that the ideal customer for you? Or do you have a significant portion where you're directly going into businesses? Chuck, welcome to the Growth Stories podcast. So happy to have you on the show. So I'd love to dive into your story. Can you tell us about how you launched Evolve Computing? I think it was back in like 2008, if I'm not mistaken. What led you to launch that in the first place?
So I needed extra money. It's like this simple. I was working for Computer Sciences Corporation. I was leading their development team, and I needed to make extra money. So I talked with the company and confirmed there was no conflict of interest. They weren't a software selling company. And then I would just work at night. I'd do the day job from like 9 to 5 or 6. Come home, I would exercise, take an hour and a half nap, and then work from like 9 p.m. to 4 a.m. So just to make extra money.
That is dedication. Yeah, you hustled it. So that's how you started. And then you ended up developing a couple of interesting products. Which one should we talk about today? CyberHoot or?
Well, CyberHoot is probably the one that is making the most progress and the one that I'm most proud of. So that probably a good one. That's why you see I'm throwing the CyberHoot logo out there and everything. So
what does CyberHoot do? Like, what problem does it solve?
So we're trying to change the cybersecurity culture, training culture, that is. So today there's this culture of, for cybersecurity training, the management against management or IT versus the employees, users. You got this kind of shaming effect of attack fish testing. And what CyberHoot is attempting to do is change the cybersecurity culture, put the managers in the IT and the employees on the same team, provide them cybersecurity training in a fun, entertaining, educational way, and also, putting a lot of automation in place to make things simpler all the way around.
So, the first phrase that came to mind was shifting left. Is it trying to basically push more of the cybersecurity onto users instead of keeping it in the IT department?
Well, I would say that it's kind of trying to blend those two together. We're doing a lot of work in the CyberHoot platforms to make it so that training is not just go to my laptop by myself and train and I'm done, and then no one talks about it ever again unless I get in trouble with HR.
Immediately forget it.
Right, then you immediately forget it. Meanwhile, what we're trying to do is we're trying to have more positive reinforcement. So less of the shaming, negative reinforcement pieces of this, more towards the positive and more towards the team effort. So we're trying to put the IT team and the employees, management, everyone together, saying it's not us versus you, it's us keeping our company safe against the outside world.
Right. And so I'd love to talk about just growth in general. I know, especially in the early it can be a lot of hustle to get your first customers. How have you gotten your first customers?
Well, so CyberHoot's been around for about 11 years now.
Yeah.
And it started out, we needed to put together a platform. It was just policy management. That's all we were doing. It was just policy management and compliance. And we were using it for an MSP that one of our co-founders was working for, and we wanted to build this product to help them. So we used it with them for, I want to say, 3 or 4 years. And over that time period, we started to see a need for cybersecurity training. We didn't like what others were doing out there. So we said, well, can we add to this policy management site? It was initially called, the code name is SPAW, S-P-A-W. Not very fun, but it stands for Simple Policy Access Website. And we've gone with a couple possible names. We landed on CyberHoot. We worked a bit for the MSP, kind of made a lot of good progress on it. Once they were done, we felt pretty good about it. Then about 6 or 7 years ago, we really tried to take it to market and getting the first customers. At first, it was word of mouth, right? That's a hustle.
So at first, it's usually I love to hear how things evolve for customer acquisition. So first you had almost like an internal product for an MSP. Did you focus on the MSP market, and how have you brought it to market? Like, what are the ways that you're using right now to learn about and to get people to get like fresh eyeballs on CyberHoot and have people learn about this?
Well, it's interesting as an entrepreneur, I was originally the development side of the house. So I'm a
Hmm.
very technical person, and Evolve Computing being my software development company tends to partner with different people with their ideas. And the concept behind it is they sell it, we build it, right? But what we found is we want to get more momentum, and we want to kind of change the culture a bit, make it a little bit more fun, entertaining, but also take too much of the seriousness out of it as well. Like
Yeah.
it's too rigid, too professional, I don't want it that way. I want it to be a little
Yeah.
looser, but educational. So
Less
what I
painful
ended up doing,
for
yeah,
all the employees.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, like no one goes, yay, cybersecurity training. They don't do it,
Yeah. I've never
right?
heard that.
So no, we're trying
Yeah.
to change it. I mean, if they can even say, hey, that wasn't that bad,
Yeah.
that's an improvement, right? That's what we're kind of shooting for. So what I had to do was I had to come out sort of out of the development role about three and a half months ago and really put on the entrepreneur hat and jump into sales and being more out there, like to the point where I started my own live stream that I do every Tuesday called Shoot the Hoot Raw for CyberHoot to kind of get in front of our MSPs. But it's all about getting out there, being seen. And the biggest challenge that CyberHoot has right now is just people knowing about us.
Hmm.
We got great ratings, the best standard prices on the market. In my opinion, the best platform. Just everyone doesn't know about it. They still say, "Oh, I just heard about you guys." you know, so those are some of the biggest challenges. Getting into that limelight with them is just about being in the forums, being on Reddit, paying attention.
Yeah.
Being out there
Being visible somehow. Yeah. Yeah. So,
somehow
and you've been
everywhere. Look,
yeah.
everywhere I can. I'm taking this everywhere, everything I can to make cyber scene everything we can do.
Yeah.
Even
Love it.
it's funny. Even my family has to have these on their cars. Like, hey, put this on your car too.
And so as you've switched out from, more of just building the app, working with partners and having your partner selling it to selling it yourself, what has been the biggest things that you've learned about your own customer? I always find that when you make that switch, suddenly you're learning things like that didn't fit exactly with your concept of who you're helping. The more you, it's kind of unfortunate, but it's good to learn. You're like, oh, it's not exactly what I thought. What are your biggest learnings so far in these last months doing that?
So one of the first things so I learned something new today, but one of the things I really learned probably just a few months ago was we had a pretty big customer and their users were taking the training and they found out that some of the users were failing the test multiple times. And I'm scratching my head because I'm like, why? Why are people failing these tests multiple times? We give you these short 3 to 5 minute videos. We give you a transcript in case you have a problem hearing. You can read along if you're more of a
Hmm.
visual learner. And then at the end, we walk you through what you got right and wrong, give you an explanation, and allow you to retake it. How are you failing this 10 times?
Yeah.
Like so I had to step right and go, and I thought, oh, that's why. Some people aren't trying to do the training. They're trying to just get through it. They want to get it done. So they're not even paying
Yeah.
attention to the video. They're just
Yeah, I
click, click, click,
immediately
next.
thought of my kiddo. I've seen him do
Right.
this
But
tactic. If I click enough
that's
buttons
right.
quick enough.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and the reason they were failing so often was they were trying to memorize the order of the answers. But on every take of our quizzes and tests, we randomize the
Hmm.
questions and answers. So you can't
Yeah.
remember the
You're
order. So we
required
end
to
up losing
think
a
a
big
small
customer.
amount. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so what happened was we lost this really big customer because the end users were complaining that the platform wasn't working, and it was. So we ended up losing them. And when we did the research, and so they said the main guy was like, "I thought I solved this problem. Let me go look for somebody else." And he found someone else that didn't do that, and now people are happy to just click as fast as they can to go through it. So we talked to him about it. And he's like, "Oh, I didn't realize that. Well, I'm definitely going to come back to you guys. But I have to finish this contract now." It was the whole thing. But what I learned from that was I have two customers now.
Hmm.
One, we have the actual business or the MSP, right? We have the business or the MSP, but we also have the end user. So once I sell that business or MSP, I got to sell the end users every day they use it because I don't want them complaining, right?
Yeah.
So two customers. So
This
the
is
MSP's
precisely
businesses
true.
become our partners.
Just from my experience, this is part of why enterprise software often sucks because they have to get the economic buyer who might never use the thing, So it has all this stuff that may not even be making sense for the person using it. So I'm glad you're working on the end user as well.
So that was one thing. And the other piece of
Yeah.
it is just kind of getting to the head of the person you're selling to. So, for example, today I was putting together, I read a great book called Software as a Science by Dan Martell and some others.
John,
All due respect.
all those
Yeah,
guys.
all due
Yeah.
respect to the others. Yeah. So I was reading the book and it was like talking about pain points. And one of the pain points is compliance. And then our platform, we've got video compliance, we've got hoot fish compliance, which is our patent pending phishing training, positive reinforcement phishing training. We've got custom hoots and compliance. And my first answer was, oh, you want to be able to give the auditor, the insurance agent, what's your compliance rating? And so I went to the site, I went to the dashboard and said, okay, the compliance rating. And I was just like, hold on, which one do they want? Videos, phishing, or custom? So I'm like, wow, we should have one number at the high
Yes.
level that encompasses them all. This is my number. And then
That's
I
right.
threw it to my team, and my team says, oh, this is a great idea. One partner came back and said, yes, all exclamations and caps. The other one said, I love it, but how about also a risk score for the other side of this is my compliance, and based upon where my compliance is, my risk can go up or down. So now we're going to end up putting in our platform. I actually have a little diagram of it that I'm going to be sharing with our developers very soon to actually build in that piece. So getting into the head of the end user and the sales force, the people who are going to be using this platform and actually selling it. So constantly learning every day.
Yeah, I love it. Such a great attitude. Yeah. I'm also imagining, I know this is kind of part of the expert's curse. If you're a subject matter expert, you know why all these things matter and you actually care. And then the person who just needs the thing to get done, like if they don't care about the same things you do, they don't want to know the nuances. They just like make it easy. And so,
So can I
yeah,
tell you a story real fast about
please.
that? This is hilarious. So I used to work those late nights.
Mhm.
And I would lay in bed and my wife would be there in the bed and I'd be beside her and I'm on my laptop in the bed working,
Yeah.
right? And I was working on a wizard. And the wizard would each step in, I would say to myself, technically, do I save to the database? Do they want to save it just in memory or do they want to just continue doing that? Now, this was quite a few years ago. And so I'm like, all right, so I said, I'll put a button in there that says save the database. I put another button that says just save for now and then next. And it was like all
Yes,
these buttons.
that's
I looked at
yeah.
I know it's like dumb, right? So I look
Yeah.
at my wife and I'm like, Erica, what would you do here? She's like, I don't know, Chuck. I just go through a wizard and at the end it's saved. I don't care. And I'm like, whoa. I mean,
Exactly.
but she's right. She didn't care,
Yeah.
but it woke me up. I was like,
Yeah.
whoa, she's 100% right. They don't care. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, I love that. I keep learning this over and over every time I forget.
Right?
Yeah. So for CyberHoot, do you still primarily are you reaching out to talk to other MSPs? Is that the ideal customer for you? Or are you also do you have a significant portion where you're directly going into businesses?
So at CyberHoot, our main mission is to cybersecurity train as many people as possible to help get their defenses up and protect them. Because I know we're all getting phone calls from people who are less technical. If you're technical and people know that, your family members are going to call you, hey, I clicked on this by accident, or I did this,
Yeah.
I was on the phone with this person. They told me. I'm like, don't do any of that. So we're just focused on the individuals. Now, those individuals come to us via MSPs and businesses. So it's not, I guess we would say we're originally focused on MSPs, but then we've got some large businesses that come to us directly. So one of the challenges is making that pricing fair enough so that we're not undercutting the MSPs while also providing good value to the business people that come direct. So we've got a number of things worked out that we don't do that. So we're definitely not competing with MSPs where we want to lift them up, but there are some businesses that don't go through their MSPs and
Mhm.
we want to get them trained.
Yeah.
So, it all comes down to who comes to us, who's talked to us. Now we have instances where businesses have talked to an MSP, the MSP put markup on it, and this was in the past where we changed some pricing and went back to us and said, hey, let's sign up. And the MSP got mad. I'm like, well, okay, hold on. I don't want to listen. You brought
Yeah.
them to us. We'll give you 20% for the first year of revenue for them. And then we put a mission in place or a process in place that if that happens, it can be reported and we can compensate for that. But what we've done now in our pricing is made the pricing so that the volume-based pricing makes it so that if you're an MSP and you're growing, there's no way we're going to be able to beat your direct price if they come to us directly, right? Just because of the margins that we put in place. So that's how we kind of address that problem. But so
So
no,
you
I don't
do it
really
by
focus
seats
on.
and volume, so that makes it simple
Yeah,
to understand the difference if you've like 1,000 seats versus 30. Yeah, makes a
that's
lot of
right.
sense.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, I'm curious, what are you the most excited about for CyberHoot in 2025? We've got AI everything right now. We have so many changes, especially the software industry. Like, what are you the most excited about this year as we wrap it up?
So most excited about this year is our growth into other countries.
Yeah.
CyberHoot is one of the only multi-language platforms. So the training can be based on the customer can be any multiple languages. I think we support 9 or 10 different languages now, and if a language isn't in there, we can add it in no time. I was on a call, and it was funny. It was my first sales call ever, and I was developing. I was going to start taking over sales, and I was developing something one morning, and for some reason, the person signed up like a half hour before. So at 10 minutes before, it was like, "You have a sales call," and I was like, I started getting all nervous. I'm like,
Yeah.
"Oh man, I'm sweating." I looked at it, someone from Norway, and I was like, "Oh no, culture challenges, maybe language barrier, maybe." I'm like,
Yeah.
now I'm really sweating. I get on the call, and I'm working with this person. It ended up being a phenomenal call. When the call was done, the guy, our partner, he's a partner of ours now. He signed up immediately. He was like, "This was a great demo. This is awesome. You were awesome." And I was like, "Whoa, just building that rapport, building that friendship." Because at CyberHoot, it's not customer or vendor customer. It's partners. We're
Mhm.
partners in this. We're gonna work with you. So it makes all the difference. And so I'm excited about that multilingual support. And as we're spreading out into Africa and the Philippines, and we've already had some users in all in Australia, but we're just constantly spreading out to new countries that are coming to us. It's very exciting.
Cool. Great. Thanks so much, Truck.